Hey, my name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching the Political Vigilante. Make Gotham great again, folks. Well, we covered the Maxwell sentencing last week. She got 20 years. R. Kelly got 30 years. Okay, R. Kelly was a monster, sex trafficking, pedophile. But he's a black man, and the white lady pedophile that worked for and dated the most notorious sex trafficker in the world, Jeffrey Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell's father was connected to Mossad. This long, long list of people that have not been named. The FBI confiscated all of this info from Epstein's penthouse in Manhattan and from his filthy Creep Island in the Virgin Islands. We saw it on the news. We saw the people in the FBI jackets wheeling out boxes of information and hard drives and whatever else. How come none of these people have been named? Ghislaine Maxwell got 20 years. R. Kelly got 30. So I guess we're just all supposed to believe that Ghislaine Maxwell acted alone and she trafficked those kids into an empty field. We're just all supposed to believe that. Jean-Luc Brunel, who was a huge sex trafficking monster that was arrested last year in France, he hung himself in prison in France. Nobody talked about that. Weird. It's weird. When the 118 pages of flight logs came out December of last year during the Maxwell trial, one of the things they named was that Trump was on 4 more flights. We thought he was only on 1. And then we find out he's on a total of 5. You would have thought CNN and MSNBC would have jumped all over that because they hate Trump, but they didn't, because if they bring Trump up, then they got to bring up the Clintons. Then they got to bring up everyone else. Victim Maria Farmer said was the head of the North American snake. Why don't we have any of these names? Why isn't there just nonstop news talking about all of the people named in the Maxwell trial? Prince Andrew, where was he? We should be investigating Prince Andrew, Donald Trump. All this January 6th investigation, they're talking about bringing criminal charges against Donald Trump. Okay. But why aren't we talking about Trump's involvement with Epstein? Women were trafficked out of Mar-a-Lago. William Acosta, who was put on Epstein's case in Florida in 2009, said, quote, he was told to Bill Clinton was on his plane 26 times, Hillary 2 times. The Clintons were at his compound numerous times in New Mexico. Ghislaine Maxwell was at Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2011, 2 years after she settled out of court in 2009. None of this is being talked about ever. No one is talking about this at all. We get anything related to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. Anything related to it was covered. Now, I understand the Maxwell trial was a federal trial and cameras are not allowed in court in a federal trial. The Depp trial was a civil trial. It wasn't even a criminal trial. It was a defamation of character suit. So there were cameras allowed in there. Okay, I understand the camera thing, but I'm talking about coverage. How come there weren't reporters inside the courtroom in Maxwell constantly talking about reporting? Why weren't we getting constant information about this? We weren't. And people aren't just going along with this anymore. This just happened at a huge UFC fight. I want to show you this because we have to just keep bringing this up nonstop, right? If you have any sort of platform at all, you have to keep bringing this up. You have to put this on social media. You have to keep asking this question. So I want to know why this is UFC champ Israel Adesanya. So he won and he asked this, man, I give this guy credit. Whether you're a UFC fan or not, whether you like this guy or not, he's a top tier A-list athlete who's a celebrity athlete. When you're a UFC champion, you're a celebrity. You have millions of fans all over the world, and he's using his platform to ask these questions. We all need to ask these questions. We need to make
Israel Adesanya is set to defend the middleweight title at UFC 276, and there's a lot of talk, a lot of buzz, a lot of headlines about everything that these guys said during the press conferences about their weigh-ins, everything to do with UFC 276 coverage, except for one statement from Israel Adesanya. We know that the mainstream media loves to listen to people virtue signal. They love to listen for any statement here or there, any political thing that they could take and they could run with. but they've been mysteriously silent about something that everyone else has been talking about on social media that came out of the UFC 276 press conference. And that is about Israel Adesanya and talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine, however you want to pronounce it, the person who's going to jail for 20 years, sentenced to 20 years for child trafficking. But supposedly we don't.
How that just doesn't compute with me.
If you're rocking with this shit show, hit that like button, share, subscribe.
Let's watch that again. So this is his post, you know, his press conference, right? And you know, just look, I'm a UFC fan. If you ever watch UFC, the two fighters, there's always a lot of hype. Well, I'm going to kick this guy's ass. That's fine. That they're selling tickets. They got to sell pay-per-view. And then after the fight, they break down. I did this and this and this round and this round. And again, the other YouTuber guy in the other show made up a great point. The media loves to jump over. If he would have said, you know, oh, we got to save Ukraine, you know, I stand with Ukraine, they would be like, see, even the UFC fighters standing with Ukraine. If he was like Black Lives Matter, they would, okay, that's an important cause, sure. But this one, nobody jumps on this. How come ESPN wasn't showing this nonstop? If he would have said something offensive like, oh, I don't like trans people or whatever, people would have gone nuts over that. And sure, that's an offensive statement. I'm not saying this guy believes that at all. I'm just saying I'm giving a hypothetical. If he says anything like that, oh my God, it's on the 24-hour news site, but he's talking about children. That somehow is less important than a comedian making a joke about a group of people. Do you understand this distraction game? You understand how effective it is? And here's this. Let's watch it again.
Ghislaine Maxwell. Like that's weird how that just doesn't compute with me.
If you're rocking with this shit show, hit that like button, share.
So I find that interesting. So not only are we obviously not talking about the list of names, level UFC guy, some guy trying to make his way. He's the champ. He's one of the best fighters in the UFC. You could argue maybe the best right now, right? He's one of the best in the UFC. This is literally like, you know, I don't know, Tom Brady or you know, Mike Trout or one of these A-list athletes. Steph Curry. What if Steph Curry said this in one of the leading up to, you know, game 6 of the NBA finals? If he said this in an interview, you know, Steph, what do you think about what are your chances? Oh, we got a good team. We're making adjustments and this and that. But, you know, Maxwell, how come we haven't seen the list of names? That's how big this guy, that's how global. I mean, the UFC is a global sport. People in other parts of the world don't know much about the NFL. That's an American sport. It's like Australian rules football. People don't know much about it. Or rugby is only in a handful of countries. Or cricket is only in a handful of countries. The UFC is popular all over the world. It's like soccer. It is the world's game. I mean, they have done an amazing job of marketing this. So my point here is a huge global celebrity A-list athlete is asking this question. And him asking the question doesn't even make the news. See how much they're covering this up? I told you, you watch my show. I have an Epstein playlist on my YouTube. The Maxwell trial, I told you, was a show trial in the sense they just want you to go, see, we got her. It's over. She's in jail. And they don't want you to talk about it. They don't want anyone to talk about it. They want it to go away. That's what they want. But that's why you watch this show. Because I've been talking about this for 3 years. I ain't letting this go. Where are the list of names? Where are the accomplices? And they do this in every high-profile pedophile case. Jerry Sandusky. I remember Eric Oldenburg, who I've had on the show, and he's my friend, and I need to have him on again. Remember, he was a former child crimes investigator. I had him on my show right after the Epstein arrest and committing suicide with a paper t-shirt. Remember that? I had him on the show, and I remember Eric and I talked about, I was doing a show in Phoenix in 2011 is when the Sandusky thing broke. Eric was still in the Phoenix Police Department then. And I said, it had just broke. Like it was a couple days old. And he goes, well, Graham, it'll probably come out he was getting kids for alumni. So Sandusky, the Catholic Church, it's what Maria Farmer said in her interview with Whitney Webb. They always want to seal it off. That's why recently I've seen on Yahoo today, just on the Yahoo, I always go to like Yahoo homepage just to see like what they're trying to feed me. And it's some like backstory on Ghislaine Maxwell was a lazy student or whatever. Again, so they're acting like we're still covering Maxwell, but nothing about it's always like she was a daddy's girl or oh, Epstein made her do it, or there's never any talk in these mainstream articles. And this is deliberate of they're not posting the Prince Andrew photo anymore. They're not showing Clinton. They're not showing Trump. They're not showing anybody that has there's FAA flight logs. 5 flights from Trump, 26 from Bill Clinton, 2 from Hillary Clinton, Bill Gates, Alan Dershowitz, celebrities. Like, why aren't we going through all of these? Because it's been, don't talk about it, don't talk about it, don't talk about it. You can put out a story about, oh, how Maxwell, she was mean in her sorority or whatever, some nonsense like that. Boy, she hated chocolate or some stupid distracting. They're not going, these are the powerful people in the world. These are the heads of the CIA that condone this or whatever, man. These are the presidents. These are the royal families, plural. They won't talk about it. So you have to come to this show or you have to watch a UFC press conference. Why is the corporate media not doing their job? Well, we know why. They're paid for. They're owned. Les Wexner buys a lot of ad time. Bill Gates buys a lot of ad time. Trump and Clinton, while they're not presidents anymore, they got a lot of power. They know a lot of powerful people and they know how to wield it. You run that story, we pull this ad money. You don't get this, you don't get you want the big interview? Remember when I showed you that story? How the royal family, ABC, what was her name? Abby Rowe. Anyway, some ABC reporter said she thought that she had a hot mic. And she was like, oh, we had the whole story. I had Virginia Roberts, Giuffre. We had the interview with her. We had everybody. We had Clinton. We had Prince Andrew. We had everybody. And then the Buckingham Palace called ABC and said, you run that story, you won't get any interviews with Kate and Prince William or whatever, Prince Harry, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so they killed the story because that's how you want access to the royals, the big fancy wedding? You don't run that story. That's how they flex their power in any number of ways. I'll give you this thing, provided you don't cover that. So we have to keep talking about it. That's why you watch this show. We follow the money. We connect the dots. We get the truth. You don't have a multi-billion-dollar global sex trafficking ring without the most powerful people in the world involved. There's powerful people that at the very least know about it and did nothing. Kids have disappeared. Awful stuff. We're going to keep talking about it. You have to keep putting the pressure on. Everybody has to keep putting the pressure on. You go to some town hall meeting, answer questions about whatever, and then how come we're not talking about this? Because those videos go viral. That gets everybody talking about it. Shave your knuckles for justice. Boom.